I don't care what anybody says, what's in this box contains the best flipper action knife that money can currently buy. How's it going, everybody? I'm Rollshambo, the connoisseur and collector of all things sharp and shiny. And if you think that you have a knife that performs better than the one that's in this box, if you think you know what's in this box, let me know in the comments section down below. And while you're down there, if you could fist bump that like button, let it know that it's doing a pretty dang bang up job. Helps me, helps the channel, and it's free. And I also hear that it prevents weak detents. Today we're talking about this knife, and this skeleton key should give you an idea of who makes it, or at least who designs it. What's inside is a Chaves, but it's not just any Chaves. Let's check it out. All right, guys, so here we are. Now, you're probably wondering, dude, just show us what's in the box already. Look, I'm not big on unboxings. I went ahead and took it out of the packaging for you, and this is a Chaves Redencion, and it's not the street. This is the 229. But you might notice that this 229 is a little bit different because this one has no thumb stud. And if you check out the logo, you'll see that it is in fact the Kickstop version. Now, I have to be 100% completely honest about this. When I first saw these come out, I made the mistake of thinking that it was just a Chaves with a flipper tab. And yeah, you know, like that just, for me, I was like, okay, the hype isn't real, whatever. It's a Chaves with a flipper tab. But then I started to learn a little bit more. You see, this is not just any flipper tab. The Kickstop is actually a Lee Williams design. You'll see his logo right there, Lee Williams. And it's a little bit different. In fact, it's a lot bit different. So you'll notice when I flick it out, there is no flipper tab right there. Where did it go? Well, it's hiding. And if you check this out, it is running on its own stop pin that pivots all on its own. And when it's not locked in place, is actually free flowing, which means that it has this really cool ratcheting sound. And I'm going to try to do that next to the camera so that you can hear it. There's just something about that sound that's super addictive. Now, this specific variant is M390 with the full titanium handle skills, frame lock, and this one is the satin finish on the tanto. And it's kind of an American tanto. You get some really deep jimping up here at the top, and it feels good in the hands. This is a big boy. This is a chunky boy. But no matter how much it weighs, you spend all of your time doing this because it's so good. It just, listen, the sound, the action, the fact that if you ever decide to sharpen this thing, there's no longer a thumb stud getting in the way of your ability to sharpen this knife. So this is in fact the Ultramar series, which means that it's not necessarily made by Ramon Chaves. This one is manufactured by Riot. Riot does a phenomenal job. If all knives were made by Riot, the world would we would have a ton of really good knives out there because they do such a good job. For some of you, that's gonna be a deal breaker. Some of you are going to say, nah, I don't like knives made in China. And you know what? That's your choice. I respect it. But I gotta say, this is really well made. I'm gonna go off on a tangent here real quick. The skull clip. So, in the box, something that Ramon Chaves has started to do is he's including this alternate clip. And I hate this clip. And I hate this clip for more than just aesthetic reasons, okay? Ramon Chaves, his designer language is based off of this design, this skull design. Now, a lot of people are going to look at that and say, oh
man, I don't like that. Like, I like the knife. I just wish it didn't have that skull clip.
And he had enough people tell him that. where he started including this extra neutered clip. Listen, this clip is boring. It serves the purpose of a clip, but it's neutered, and it completely destroys the design language on this knife. It's like ordering a root beer float and then telling him, you know what, I'm good. Hold the root beer. What? Why would you do that? Listen, when it comes to things like the blade shape and the handle scale materials, the pocket clip adds so much flavor, and it reminds you this is a Ramon Chaves design. That is his thing. Some people aren't going to like that, and that's fine. But I'm telling you right now, if you want a Chaves, you gotta rock the skull clip. Otherwise, just get a different knife. I don't know how else to say it. It breaks my heart that he had to go as far as to add in a secondary clip because people complained about the skull clip. I know. On the newer models, the pocket clip screws are on the outside and they almost kind of look like horns. Some people don't like that. Some people are actually really bothered by that. They just want the screws to be from the inside. And, you know, I could see that, but personally, I don't care. I don't have an issue with those screws. I do have more of an issue with the fact that this is not a single-sided captive pivot. It's double-sided, but it's something that I can overlook. Now, you'll have noticed that the satin finish gathers fingerprints like nobody's business, but it is in fact a multi-directional belt satin finish that looks fantastic. And then of course you get the skeleton key on the blade, something you can never get rid of because it's etched there, and I think that it's possibly one of the coolest maker's marks on a knife. It looks iconic. And then of course on this side it has the Kickstop engraving by Lee Williams, and that's his design logo. I'll be honest, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of having that logo on there. I feel like having this flipper tab should be more than enough. It should be, because that is something that he's well known for. He created a design that is mechanical in nature and works really good. The combination of the action married to that wonderful ratcheting sound and then followed by having the blade flip out is really freaking cool. Not to mention this being the 229 Redencion, it's going to be a bit bigger. This is actually a pretty decently sized knife. Let's go ahead and weigh it. So all the websites say that this knife is going to weigh about 6.6 ounces. We're going to weigh it just to be sure because we don't trust easily here on this channel. So let's go ahead and find out. The scale of truth says 6.63. Okay, so they were all right on that. That estimate is right on. That estimate is spot on. I have no complaints about that weight. A lot of that weight is going to come from the fact that there is no internal milling on these handle scales whatsoever. They are slabs of titanium. This is not a knife for those of you who say, I won't carry a knife over 4 ounces. This is a knife for someone that knows what they're getting into. They want something that feels big and overbuilt and has a really, really unique mechanism like this Kickstop. I just get so much joy out of that. So much joy. There's no freaking stop pin. It's all in the Kickstop. And that action is super entertaining. I love that. I really, really do. I think that when you add things like a unique flipper tab that's mechanical in nature to a simple Chaves design, you get magic. These handle scales, you'll notice, come factory stonewash, which I'm all about. I'm all about the factory stonewash on these bead blasted titanium handle scales because it makes you unafraid to carry this knife. The nice thing about that is that not only does it stay looking good for longer, but it's just something that encourages people to use it. Don't worry about digging it up. We've already done that for you. Yeah. Now, on the topic of the action, which is kind of what this knife is all about, I will say this. You can, of course, fail this tab. If you just lackadaisically just do that, then yeah, you can fail it. It's not that it has a weak detent. I can do this all day and it's not going to come out. It's just the fact that it's in there nice and tight and it's a heavy blade. So if you don't actually try to open it with some intent, then it's not going to do it. But if you put even a little bit of intent behind that flip, it's going to come out no problem each and every time, and it's going to make that beautiful ratcheting sound each and every time. It does, of course, have a titanium backspacer, hallelujah, which is fantastic. It's going to protect that tanto tip. Speaking of the blade, something that I'm a huge fan of is seeing realistically sized bevels. I hate it when manufacturers give us these slim little edge bevels that don't last long at all and don't provide great cutting geometry. That's not an issue on this knife. You get really, really good sized bevels. They're nice and wide, and it's very confidence inspiring. This is a compound grind, which means that you have this deep hollow right here, followed by this flat near the tip. What that does is that creates excellent cutting geometry all the way down to the tip of the blade. Now up here at the top, you do get some relief in the form of a swedge. So that swedge is going to make it so that you're not pushing whatever material you're cutting too far apart and causing a tear. It's going to let it slide through and slice through materials really well. Now, it's not all sunshine and roses. I will say this, despite the fact that these edges and corners are really well knocked down, this one is a bit of a harsh 90-degree angle. So when you hold it like this, you will feel this corner dig into your hand a little bit. It's a minor inconvenience. I'm not even going to call it a hot spot, because if you're holding it like a normal person, you don't have to worry about it. Oh yeah, and by the way, did I mention that this is a video where I'm not going to be complaining about jimping? Look at that big old sawtooth jimping right there. Feels great in a saber grip, feels great in a reverse grip. It's a kind of a choose your own story grip, because even though it does have a finger swell right there, it's not really telling you where your hands need to be or how big they need to be. Ultimately, this knife is really freaking cool. And if you like Ramon Chaves knives and knife designs, this might be one that you want to pick up. Even if you don't like the tanto, this American tanto style blade, you can of course get it in a drop point. The last Chaves that I had was the Redencion Street with the thumb stud, and while it was a great knife, it just wasn't for me, and I didn't have any qualms when it came time to sell it. This one, on the other hand, is different. It feels different. It's bigger, it's heavier, it's got this beautiful tanto blade and this wonderful kickstop action, which I just can't get enough of. I was wrong, and I'm willing to say it, because when these came out, I thought that they were all hype, that it was too much hype. When in reality, it was just enough hype. The correct amount, if you will. Yeah. Real quick, let's go ahead and do a comparison. Up against the Spyderco Manix 2, you'll see that it is longer than the Manix 2. When we're talking about thickness, it is also thicker than the Manix 2. Blade profile. Blade profile is actually going to be very similar from the high point to the low point. Very similar. So listen, it's going to carry like a Manix, like a really heavy Manix 2. Other than that, guys, there's not a whole lot else that I have to say about this. I'm going to link this in the description and in the pinned comment down below, because I don't think that they're going to do many more runs of this, if any more. Word on the street is that they might be doing a one and done run. So the ones that are out there, those could be the ones that are out there forever. We don't know. And if this is one that you'd like, I definitely suggest checking it out. If you liked the video, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, boo-hoo, you know what to do. Come find me in the comment section. And if you want to watch more videos and, of course, catch the Grail or Garbage ranking on this knife, make sure you hit subscribe and hit the notification bell. I'm Rollshambo. I'll catch you on the flip side.